Well, we're here at Bishop Reedy High School in Columbus with Brady Taylor, who's signed to play football at Ohio State. And Brady, we're taping this on Thursday. You're getting ready to graduate May 31st, and then it'll be on to Ohio State. Just want to ask you, the legacy maybe you guys have left here at Reedy. It's always been kind of a great wrestling school, known for some other things, but never really that big for football. Just talk about, kind of the way you guys put Reedy on the map as a football school now.
Really, our first 2 years, we had 2 4-6 seasons, and we got a whole new coaching staff in our junior year, and they had some college experience, like nutrition-wise, weight room-wise, and they kind of did a lot of things spiritually and physically as well in the weight room, and we kind of just had a strong bond as a senior class. And once we got on the field, it didn't matter if we liked each other in the school, but when we got on the field, no one could stop us. And I think that was really, we went out with a chip on our shoulder, and that was one thing that helped us excel.
Mm-hmm. I know you got selected to play in the International Bowl down in Texas. Just what was that experience like to go against college athletes and to practice and play, to represent the United States? That had to be a lot of fun.
That was probably my favorite football experience that I've ever had growing up, just because, first of all, it was in Texas, so that's a whole different place, kind of get away from everything. And the talent there was talent that you don't get unless you're selected for a game like that. Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, any school, you name it. And, to be able to go out for Team USA and wave the flag and everything, that was also, really cool. But, the practices, it's something I loved it because all the competition. In high school, obviously the kids aren't all Division I players, but when you're there, they're all Division I players. So one-on-ones and inside run and all that it's a battle every day. And that's the fun of it, and that's why you love and play the game.
In the bio Ohio State put out, they said you were a Buckeye since you were in the 8th grade. Your parents, just your background, just talk about how important Ohio State's kind of been to you growing up, I guess.
My mom grew up in Columbus, so she's always been a diehard Buckeye fan. My dad's actually from Chicago, and they both went to Ohio University. My dad played football, my mom played volleyball.
Okay.
And so my dad came up when he first started dating my mom to go to an Ohio State game, and he pretty much instantly fell in love and stayed here. And so growing up, my godmother had a RV that she would go down for tailgates, and I went to a bunch of games. I made a scrapbook when they won the national championship. I was on the couch crying. So, it's definitely.
You would have been in the 1st grade when that was going on.
Yeah, 1st or 2nd grade. So, I went to the spring game when it was freezing cold, and they had all the players, and I got all their autographs except for Craig Krenzel. Still haven't gotten his. So just growing up, it's been something that's always been kind of in my blood and a goal of mine.
You went to their camp about a year ago, early June. I presume didn't have an offer at that point. Just talk about that experience, and what would you tell kids that are in that situation that are like, hey, I want to go impress these guys and not hyperventilate about it? Just what can you do? What would you say about that experience that really went well for you?
I really liked going into that camp. That was one of the most competitive camps I went to. Obviously, because that's how they do everything. But if you're a kid that doesn't like to work hard or doesn't like competition, it's definitely not the place for you. But if it's something that you dream of and want, then there's definitely a way to make it happen. A lot of people told me when I got the late offer, why would you go there? They didn't want you in the beginning. But if it's something that you want, and if I go in there and take care of business, then they're not going to remember when they offered me. They're just going to worry about how I'm doing while I'm there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how the ship sails as long as it sails.
You're part of a really good offensive line group with Jamarco Jones, Demetrius Knox, Marcellus Taylor, Kyle Trout. Just what do you think about being part of that class, and what have Marcellus and Kyle told you about their experience, I guess, from the spring?
It's definitely pretty special. I think we ended up with the top or the 2nd highest rated offensive line class in the country. So, to have guys of that caliber that, we'll probably end up playing on the same line together at some point in our career is definitely something that's special, because when the offensive line's good, the team's good. And, just talking to Marcellus and Kyle, the biggest adjustment for them, they said, was just the strength and conditioning. They said a lot of running and stuff like that. And I'm actually rooming with Demetrius in the summer. So,
Coach Meyer, after the spring game, said he went over to several of you guys that are offensive linemen and said, you better be ready to play. Was that truly what he said? And, what's the expectation? And what do you take that to mean? He's telling the freshmen, hey, we might need some of you guys to play this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he said to us in a very vanilla way. But, I think that just means they need bodies in practice and kids that can go and play. That, if we get a couple months under our belts in the summer, getting bigger, stronger, learning the playbook, that if they need us, then, they're definitely going to play us, and he's not scared to do that. So he's just telling us to be mentally and physically ready to come in and go undefeated.
How about Ed Warner? What are your thoughts about going to work with him? It seems like a pretty intense guy, and just that probably helped sell you on Ohio State, what he brings to the table. Just what are your thoughts about working with him?
He's one of the best teachers that I got to meet and through the whole recruiting process. Just the way he interacts with his players and the way he talks to them, you really learn a lot. He just has a way of instilling it in you. And just to see the jump that the offensive line made last year from the beginning to the end of the season, he's one of or the best offensive line coach in the country.
You're wrapping up here at Reedy, going to graduate and I presume start class at OSU middle of June. Just are you looking forward to diving right into that, or what do you think?
I'm very excited. I basically have lifted with the same 4 kids for the past few months. So, I want to go in there because I want the team atmosphere again and the competition and the intensity that comes with being a part of one of the best teams in the country. And I just can't wait to get in and, finally become a Buckeye and live my dream.
You'd committed to Virginia Tech originally. Just what were some of the thoughts and reasons? This is your hometown school. Just it had to be tough to tell them, hey, I'm going to go to Ohio State instead. Just what were some of the things that were going through your mind through that whole process?
I guess really, I'm a kid. I was taught to always, when I commit to something, to follow through with it. But when a bigger opportunity that's always been my dream as a kid comes along, and my offensive line coach left for LSU, it just, I think it was God's plan for me to end up at Ohio State, and I'm going to take it and make the best of it.
And just the opportunity to play at your hometown school, what do you think that'll be like to have the support of everyone in your community here on this side of town and everybody pulling for you and representing Reedy? As we were talking before we started, not sure when or if Reedy's ever had an Ohio State football player. If it has happened, it's been decades. Just your thoughts of representing this side of town at Ohio State.
It's pretty awesome, especially just the fact that I've grown up here and I know what it's like. I don't think a lot of the kids that come from out of state understand what it's like until they get here and see how crazy it is. So another thing I'll like about it is, being from Columbus, I'll definitely have more of a target on my back. So everyone's watching me, and that'll just make me a better person. And I have a lot to go in and make a good name for my school and my community. So I'm going to go in and work as hard as I can.
What position are Coach Warner, Coach Herman, what are they talking to you about? How they'd like to see you fit into the mold, maybe beginning this year and maybe as your career evolves? What do they think?
Originally they were telling me left tackle just because of athletic ability, so I think hopefully that's where it pans out.
Mark Porter from Scouting Ohio kind of looks at your tape and says you have the feet to play tackle, could play defensive line as well. Just do you feel that your athleticism and your feet are maybe the best thing that you bring, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's something that really helps me. I can really get back my pass set or get off the ball a lot quicker than the defense can get to me. So, and then if you put that with, I really just, when I go out there, I just want to kill the person across me and outwork them. So you put those two things together, and I think that's definitely what helps me.
You look at last year, they built the offensive line over a 2 or 3 year period, and it went from being a liability to a strength of the team, and now they're kind of back to square one. Are you looking forward to getting in that mix and building toward as good as those guys were last year?
Yes, definitely. And one of the practices, Coach Meyer actually was just talking about the 4 that they lost, and basically said if you're not as good as Jack Muhort or Andrew Norwell, then we need to start recruiting other guys. And so he's basically putting the goal in front of us that we need to be as good or better than them. And so we need to get to work very quickly, but with Coach Warner, like I said, the way he makes his offensive lines improve, I'm sure it'll be another strength again.
Well, very good. Well, hey, Brady, that's everything we had today. I appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck, Ohio State.
All right, thank you.
Oh.